So there's a book. It's called Running a Love Story, based on a guy called Dominic Harvey or Dom Harvey, and it's kind of funny because how this guy managed to write a book on running. Now his marathon PB was 3:05. He ran that when he was 42. To be fair, so you know 3:05. Normally you'd have to run like maybe a 2:10, or I'd say at least a 2:15 to be able to write an autobiography. And personally, I think the fact that he can write a successful autobiography, this guy's from New Zealand, by the way. I think it means that if slower runners can feel free to write autobiographies as well. So maybe if you're not quite the best, maybe if you're running say 2:20 for a marathon or even 2:30, if you have an interesting story to tell, don't be afraid to try to write a book about it, because this guy's one has a PB of 3:05. But anyway, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is why he could only run 3:05. Surely he could run faster. Okay, now everyone says, people have the ability to run a lot faster than they think they do. Some people say, oh, does everyone have the ability to run a 20-minute 5K? And well, the elites will say, well, yeah, like unless you have like a disability, because 20 minutes for a 5K is not fast. If whether you're male or female. So a 3:05 marathon, that's probably the equivalent of maybe 19 minutes, 19 and a half minutes for 5K. So yeah, it's nothing spectacular. And he managed to write a book about it. But I'm going to look at some of the reasons why he didn't improve. Now, he started running from a young age. He trained with a club in his school. He trained with a school in New Zealand, and apparently they were very good runners. But he was always the slowest on the group, and eventually at 15 he ran a race. He was one of the last to finish, and he just got fed up and quit. Okay, so I think the thing is, he was training with guys who were a lot faster than him, and I think that can be a problem. Or you need to be at least close to the other person's standard to be able to train with them. Okay, like if you're running say 22 minutes for a 5K, training with 15-minute or even 16-minute 5K runners is not going to benefit you in the slightest. You have to train people of your own standard. That's a big problem. I think obviously he got discouraged. He quit at 15. I didn't get back into it till he was like in his 30s, I think, was it, or maybe late 20s. So yeah, obviously having missed all those years of training, obviously that's going to play a massive factor. What did he do when he quit running? I don't even know, but I think quitting is not really the answer. Like look at me, my YouTube video. I've got 2 subscribers. I'm still trying. I think you always feel more pride with yourself if you just keep trying and keep improving rather than just giving up. You know what I mean? Even if you're really bad at something, don't let that stop you. I think it's the ego. People that are embarrassed about being bad at something and then they kind of just give up. I think I was like that with the Malloy Runner channel, but now I've matured a bit. I've copped on. I'm like, right, if you want to get good at this, you're just gonna have to stick with it and be very patient, and that's what I'm doing. So yeah, so I think those 2 factors, maybe overtraining with guys who are faster than you, giving up for that many years. Also, I think he had a heart condition of some sort. I think that might have slowed him down a bit as well. Anyway, he got that sorted. Was it a tumor he had in his heart, or something like that? But he got it sorted anyway. So, and when he got back training in his 30s, the thing that he did was he hired a running coach, and the running coach was actually kind of crap. Now, thing is, mileage, he wasn't doing a huge amount of mileage. He said he was doing something like, was it 40 kilometers a week or something? Or maybe it was 70. I actually can't remember the exact amount of miles, but it wasn't a huge amount. But to be fair, with the standard he was at, it's probably not too bad, because when you're at a lower standard, you can't handle the same amount of mileage. So he used to do all his runs at his marathon race pace. That's hard. Like you can't call that an easy run. Do you know what I mean? So I think they say that when you're doing an easy run, the pace should be at least 1 minute per mile slower than your marathon race pace. And this guy was not running 1 minute per mile slower than his marathon race pace. He was running at his marathon race pace, and he was just working the wrong zones, not really benefiting from it. And he was paying this guy to coach him, paying him. and this is the advice he got. Um, and there's one day where he made him do sprints, and Dominic Harvey asked, "Why do I have to do sprints if I'm training for a marathon, which is 26.2 miles?" And oh, he gave him such a weird, complicated answer. It's like you work all these different fibers and blah 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 blah. I couldn't understand a word he was saying. It's all this university gibberish I can't understand. But still stupid. Yeah, so that's a problem, Um, he's not a good coach, and yeah, so I think that's why Dominic Harvey only managed to run 3:05 in the marathon. I definitely think he had the ability to run quicker than that. And he ran that 3:05 in Berlin, which is a bit crazy. You're living in New Zealand, you want to travel to Berlin, take time off work just to run one of the majors. I mean, as his manager at work said, why not just run a marathon in New Zealand? Yeah, like you're not an elite athlete. Fair enough if you're an elite athlete and you're trying to run a PB and you only get sponsored. Fair enough, travel to Berlin. But like, if you're running 3:05 in the marathon, like, come on, it's not worth your time traveling all that way. I think some people just take this shit too seriously. At the end of the day, you know, um, my 5K PB was 15 minutes 18 seconds, which would be a lot more impressive than this guy's marathon time. But I wouldn't travel abroad just to run a fast time. I'd run races in Ireland. You know what I mean? I remember my dad sort of coached me around like 15, 16. We'd only ever run Dublin graded meets. And that was boring as fuck. That was Irishtown, Tala, and Santry, all in Dublin. And I'm like, ugh. To be honest, I think it is good to travel a little bit to get to races, like maybe travel outside your county to a different county to run a race. That's exciting. I would recommend doing that, but I wouldn't recommend traveling to a different country unless maybe you're representing your country or you're trying to get a fast PB to get sponsored or something like that. Um, but anyway, that's kind of going beyond the point. So yeah, I think these are the reasons Dominic Harvey um, didn't run as fast as he could have done.